25 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order at 5:30 PM. Tiffany, please call the roll.
Good evening and welcome to the March 17, 2025 Planning and Zoning Open Session Meeting. Commissioners, please state present if in attendance. Commissioner Morales. Present. Commissioner Walker.
Present.
Commissioner Jurasik.
Present.
Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Carney. Commissioner Prager. Present. Vice Chair Smith.
Present.
Chair Krause.
Present.
For the record, a quorum is present with 6 commissioners in attendance. Commissioner Rhodes and Commissioner Carney are not in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Commissioner Smith will give the invocation and Commissioner Jurasik will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please rise?
Bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to gather here today. I ask that as you watch over us, you give us the guidance and direction as in your will in the best interest of our community. In your name I pray. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance
to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now confirm meeting agenda items. We have a request to table item 5 FY-24-33-ZC to the April 7th P and Z meeting. Do we have a motion?
I move that we table item number FY-24-33-ZC to the April 7th meeting.
Second.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Morales to table item 5 FY-24-33-ZC on the meeting agenda. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales. Aye. Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jurasik.
Aye.
Commissioner Prager. Aye. Vice Chair Smith.
Aye.
Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
We will now confirm the remaining agenda items. Are there any questions or comments? If there are no objections, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to confirm the meeting agenda items.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Prager and a second by Commissioner Morales to approve the remaining meeting agenda items. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales. Aye. Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jurasik.
Aye.
Commissioner Prager.
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith.
Aye.
Chair Krause.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
The remaining agenda items are approved by unanimous consent. Are there any public comments at this time? If so, please state your name, city of residence for the record. Limit comments to 3 minutes. We will have a timer on the screen for your reference.
Seeing none online.
Thank you, Jason. On the consent agenda is the approval of item 4. If there are no objections, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve item 4 on the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Walker to approve item 4 on the consent agenda. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales. Aye. Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jurasik.
Aye.
Commissioner Prager.
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith.
Aye.
Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Item 4 is approved by unanimous consent. We'll now move on to item 6, FY-25-3-ZC. Hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a rezoning and a binding site development plan request from agricultural to plan development commercial on 5.358 plus or minus acres, 1 lot, 1 block, non-residential subdivision situated in the William Hayden Survey, abstract number 392, City of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 5642 Pegasus Drive. The case will be presented by Senior Planner Shelby Smith.
Thank you, Chair and members of the commission. This will move forward to City Council on April 3rd and the following council meeting, April 17th. So this is a rezoning for a 5.358 acres. It is a one lot, one block, non-residential subdivision. The current zoning is agricultural and it's rezoning to planned development commercial for the warehouse office. And you can see it's located on Pegasus Drive and near Morris Mill Road here. Again, this is a planned development, so it is a flexible overlay zoning district that does have a binding site plan. So the development must be compliant with the site plan known as Exhibit A, which is also included in the staff report and in this presentation. Taking a look at the dimensional standards for the current zoning, which is agricultural, and comparing it to the proposed zoning of commercial. And this is information that's in our UDC for those dimensional standards based on the zoning district. So here on the left is the site plan. On the right are all of the proposed plan development conditions. The first one stating that, again, this development must be compliant with the site plan, which is attached in the staff report. Wanting to highlight a few of the images here on the site plan. So this here is the proposed elevation that the applicant has submitted. The elevations are required to have two distinct exterior materials, and you can see that there are awnings above the doors and the windows. And then there are also 5-foot sidewalks along Pegasus Drive and also internal sidewalks in the development. There are 171 parking spaces on site. There's also a detention pond that will be required to be on site to help with drainage. And there are nearby residential properties. So here you can see there's a 20-foot landscape buffer along this side and then also here as well, since it is near a residential property. And here we can also see the Hammerhead fire truck turnaround. There are 7 buildings on site, so the total square footage is 77,880. And then there are also 4 dumpster enclosures. So there's one here and then one here and then here as well. Excuse me. And then, sorry, missed one here as well. I see. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Shelby.
Mhm.
Wanted to get some clarification on those elevations, the 2 different materials. And as you all probably know by now, we're unable to enforce by, state law type of exterior materials. If it's allowed by building code, then we have to allow it. But Shelby, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the awnings themselves are not the second material.
Right.
I think it's what's above it. Does it at least show what that material is? Once again, if they wanted to do, stone or brick or, or hardy board, in addition to the metal, they can, but just can you clarify that it's not the awnings that
Right.
counts as a second material? Okay.
Right. The awning, I pointed that out just more for the design, but the
Okay.
awnings wasn't included in the exterior materials.
Okay, so it's what is shown as kind of the lighter, kind of the middle gray, I guess, is some other material.
Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. So again, there's 4 dumpster enclosures on site. And then there's also a wastewater extension, which is required. So the development will be having a wastewater extension from the sewer lines available on the east side of the property. And then we'll get into the plan development conditions a little later in the presentation, but also just highlighting plan development condition number 9, which is addressing some of the concerns with the quality of Pegasus Drive. Taking a look at the thoroughfare plan, so Pegasus Drive is a community collector and it is in compliance. One of the requirements for warehouse office is that it must be on a community collector thoroughfare or higher. And then also taking a look at the utilities, there's a 12-inch water line available and then a 15-inch sewer line available to the east, which will be a wastewater extension. So it is compliant with both the thoroughfare plan and also utilities are currently available, are available. Additional background, so this was recently platted. It went to P and Z a few months ago, and the plat did require a 30-foot right-of-way dedication for Pegasus Drive and also the wastewater extension that I spoke about previously. Since it is a non-residential development, there are no park fees. This did go to the Development Review Committee in October 21st of last year, and the proposed commercial use is appropriate with the surrounding area as well. During that Development Review Committee, there were concerns about the substandard width and poor condition of Pegasus Drive, which does require improvement. And the planned development condition number 9 will require the developer to address and implement any of those concrete improvements for Pegasus Drive prior to development. Also, for mobility master plan reviews, there were no conflicts with the mobility master plan. And one of the comments was a recommendation of increased curb radius at entry to allow the turning movements by the larger commercial vehicles. And this will go to City Council for a first reading on April 3rd and a second reading on April 17th. Taking a look at the zoning, the proposed zoning is planned development commercial. The surrounding zoning includes agricultural and light industrial. Some of the commercial uses nearby include an RV park, Lamar Advertising of Temple, and then also road air conditioning and heating. There also are some nearby industrial uses, which include Tri-Supply and the FedEx ground near the loop. And this is in compliance with the surrounding zoning. For the future development plan, it is an industrial future development plan. And again, this is for commercial development. So this designation is intended for land areas that will be developed to support light or heavy industrial and also manufacturing uses as well. So this is in compliance with the future development plan for industrial for the proposed warehouse office use. Public notices, there were 7 notices that were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. We did receive 2 notices in agreement, just wanting to note that these 2 notices here are from the same property owner. And then also there was another notice that we received in agreement. However, this is the property owner who owns the parcel of the rezoning. And we also received 1 notice in disagreement. And this was printed in the newspaper on March 6th of this year. So here are the site photos of the proposed rezoning site. It is currently undeveloped and the future development plan is industrial. It's platted as Pegasus Estate and the current zoning is agricultural. To the north, we do have residential use, which is also in the future development plan of industrial. It's platted of the Moores Mill Edition and it's currently zoned, or it is zoned agricultural. To the south, we also have residential use in the same area, also zoned agricultural. And to the east, there is undeveloped land, which is a part of the regional commercial future development plan, and it's zoned light industrial. And to the west, we have an agricultural use, which is a part of the industrial future development plan, also zoned agricultural. So I'll take a few seconds so everyone can look at the proposed plan development conditions. But the first one is making sure that there is substantial compliance with the building footprint, lot layout, and elevations that are included in the site plan. The second one is buffering screening for the neighboring agricultural zone property, which is a requirement per the UDC, and also buffering and screening for the neighboring residential. For a warehouse office, there is a requirement of a minimum 20-foot landscape buffer for any adjacent properties with the residential use. And then also a site development compliance with the UDC section 7.1 performance standards, which includes standards related to noise, odor, glare, and other kind of nuisances. And then going on to number 5, just noting that outdoor storage is something that's not allowed at the development. And relating back to the elevations, there is a minimum of 2 distinct exterior materials. And wanting to highlight number 9, again, during the development review committee, there were concerns about the pavement width and the grading, the current grading of Pegasus Drive. So there is a requirement that the developer must coordinate with their engineering team in the city engineer's office to provide concrete improvements to Pegasus Drive to address the impact of the warehouse vehicles for this development related to the heavy loads and the public safety, or they will be required to provide an engineering study to address the concrete improvements, which will also evaluate the driveway entrance design for the warehouse vehicles, and they must implement the engineer study's recommendations. And then taking a look at the plan development criteria. So there's a table associated with the plan development criteria. It is compliant with all of those criteria within the table. Also, it's compliant with the future land use plan for the proposed development. It is compatible with the surrounding uses and the surrounding zoning districts. Public facilities are also available to the development, and it is also in compliant with the thoroughfare plan. So staff is recommending approval of the request for rezoning from agricultural zoning district to plan development commercial zoning district. And I'm available for any questions that there may be.
I have a question about the improvements to Pegasus. To what extent will that be? I mean, is it just the area that, you know, one, when will they do the improvements? After the construction phase? And to what extent will they be?
Well, I'll just say for the, so it's not for the entire Pegasus Drive, more so for the part of the development, but
Okay.
that will affect the warehouse office development. I'll let Brian speak.
To answer your other question, Chair Krause, I would envision that that has to be constructed at the end, just to prevent additional
Damage.
damage to it. Yes, ma'am. So, but, there would be flexibility, but ultimately it'd have to be constructed before certificate of occupancy is issued. But I would think they would want to do
Just the
it at
stretch of
the end.
Pegasus where that property is.
Yes, just that section. And so really for turning movements, and that's where we gave them the choice. Hey, you can either have an engineer design that, in terms of they'll know their truckloads and turning movements, and it'd have to be concrete because
Isn't there a cement batch plant down the road on Pegasus? I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine anything impacting that road any more than.
anymore,
concrete plant.
well, that
I mean,
is true,
that's
but the
where all that
road.
abuse on Pegasus
Yeah,
comes
we
from.
know that the road though, of course, is in bad shape. And
Yeah.
so in order to at least be able to have, try to prevent those trucks at that facility from further, putting that road in disrepair, then, that's, we can't hold the past ones accountable for it, unfortunately, but we can those moving forward. So.
Commissioners, are there any other questions or comments? This case requires a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you are viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand. Provide your full name and city of residence for the record. Limit comments to 3 minutes, and we will have a timer on screen for your convenience and reference.
Alan Lytle, Temple, Texas. If I could get her to bring up the plan again. Otherwise, it'd be hard for me to explain. Okay. I understand that we have enough room to pick up the 2 solid waste dumpsters on the end, but what about the 2 in the middle here? Is there enough room, or is the solid waste truck gonna have to back up to get out of those 2 holes? And if so, that's probably not something we really wanted to do. The other question about those is that's 4 of them for 7 buildings. I'm not sure, especially since they're being industrial, I'm not sure that'd be sufficient for the waste generated by all 7 once they're fully occupied to be picked up only once a week. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it did go through so Solid Waste did review the site plan and provided approval for the location of the dumpster enclosures and also ensuring that there's a 65-foot approach for the access to the dumpsters.
I know commercially they'll pick up more than once a week.
That was what I thought too.
Yeah. All
is
of
that
these buildings are over 10,000 square feet,
So let me
because I think you said 77 and some
7,000?
change.
so
Well, all-
kind of hard to see,
all
but
have sprinklers.
basically, so a fire code their response to the, if it would require sprinklers, would looking at the construction plans and basically determining there if they would need fire sprinklers or not, depending on their square footage per building too.
1,000 square feet.
There's multiple numbers they look at. They look at per building and they look at aggregate. So it's really going to depend on the plan.
Yeah, but looks like, yes, so most likely with our sprinklers and they're ready to, they're prepared to install.
Are there any further questions or comments?
I do. Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so my name is Jaime Gonzalez, and I am a resident of Morris Mill. My backyard, I didn't get one of those questionnaires, you know, because I'm not within the 200 feet, but I'm next door to that neighbor that did receive that. But I just wanted to give my input on this, if that's all right.
certainly.
Okay. The concern my wife and I have is the potential noise that these new businesses, that future businesses could generate. We're parents to 3 young children that are third grade twins are third graders and a 5th grader. And our kids go to bed early. And with the businesses that it could attract, we're just afraid that, you know, it could bring some noisy, you know, late night businesses coming in and out. And we're concerned with that. The other thing that could potentially bring is increased trash and debris. You know, this area back here is very windy, and us Morris Mill residents, we take great pride in keeping our properties clean of trash, and also across the street, which actually belongs across the street from Morris Mill, which belongs to the Temple Economic Development Corporation. We keep their area clean too, because they don't come out here and service their own properties. We have to mow the lawn, keep that trash clean. And we're afraid with the business back there being so windy, it's, you know, we're just afraid it's going to bring a lot of trash this way toward our property, where, you know, we'll have to clean up that area as well, since we're already cleaning up across the street. So we're concerned about the area being clean. Also, I know y'all were mentioning about Pegasus Drive being destroyed already. And that's another concern, because right now our road on Morris Mill has been destroyed by 18-wheelers because of the new construction from the outer loop. They're building a new bridge down the road from us. And they had told us in the past, our representative, Ms. Walker, had told us there's no plans to fix Morris Mill Road. And as y'all were stating, if the new developer is only going to fix in front of Pegasus or in front of their businesses, we're afraid that Pegasus is going to get destroyed more. And, you know, we have a bus stop that stops at the corner of Pegasus and Morris Mill. And again, with the traffic, we don't know, we can't say what kind of businesses are be attracted with the new warehouses, but there is a bus stop that stops there at early in the morning when it's dark and in the afternoon. So right now we still have trouble with 18-wheelers coming through here. The city of Temple law enforcement doesn't really patrol this area. I don't know if they consider us rural, but we're still within the city limits, but we rarely see anybody patrol out here. We've complained in the past about 18-wheelers coming through here, fast traffic, you know, with the school stop, and still nothing's ever been done. So we're just afraid or worry about this new businesses being built right behind our house. You know, what's that going to look like for our bus stop and our kids in this area? And lastly, not to take away too much of your time, but also the privacy and safety. You know, again, we don't know what kind of businesses these are going to attract. Right now, with the farmland behind us, we don't have to worry about safety or any privacy. But with these new businesses, again, depending on what time of day they're conducting business, you know, if it's late at night or early morning, you know, we just worry about that, our safety and privacy, again, with little kids running around the backyard. We don't know who's going to be back there, what time of day or night, and potentially, come over into our property. So, and that's just our concerns that we have. That's my family. I can't speak for the other residents, but I know talking with them, they pretty much have the same concern, but I don't want to speak for them though. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. We appreciate your concern and your input.
Thank you.
Are there other further questions or comments? We will now close the public hearing. I will entertain a motion, please.
Motion to approve item. Shoot, totally lost my space. My page. Thank you. I was scrolling. Okay, motion to approve FY 253 ZC as presented. Thank you so much.
Second,
Second.
motion has been made by Commissioner Prager and a second by Commissioner Jurassic to recommend approval of item 6 FY-25-3 ZC to City Council per staff recommendations. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales? Aye. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Jurassic?
Aye.
Commissioner Prager?
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith?
Aye.
Chair Krause?
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
We'll move on to item 7 FY-25-10 ZC. Hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a rezoning request from agricultural to general retail on 4.90 plus or minus acres located in the Maximo Merino Survey, abstract number 14, City of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 16803 Northeast HK Dodge and Loop. The case will be presented by Principal Planner Jason Deckman.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. You see the schedule for this tonight at P and Z, and then City Council on April 3rd and 17th. And I'll note that Lena Chate from Belton Engineering is here if you have any questions tonight. So let's start with the location and then we'll zero into the details. This is located on the northeast side of Temple, at the corner of Lavandusky and HK Dodge and Loop, otherwise known as State Loop 363. And 363 is much less of a mouthful than the Northeast HK Dodge and Loop. So from now on, I'll just use the number. As you see on the aerial photo to the right, most of the surrounding areas undeveloped. There's a diesel mechanic shop on the opposite side, shown here with all the vehicles. And then as Brian mentioned, Hector Garcia Elementary School is to the southwest. And there's a couple homes on some smaller lots to the east. One of the residents right here is the one that returned their letter. So you can get a sense of the proximity to that home. Here's some site photos. So the top left, that is the subject property. At the corner, there's a wide bit of right of way on 363. So that fence is set back a good bit from the road. You can see the condition of Lavandusky. It is cracked. It's starting to crumble at the edges. Again, there's that gate going into the subject property. Here's that diesel shop across the road, and then there's the school building. You can see the playground and the building and the canopies, diagonally across that intersection. So this is 4.9 acres out of a larger 74.3 acre tract. And if you look at the bigger map, it's kind of a panhandle shaped lot, and this is the end of the handle. As I mentioned, the surrounding area is mostly crops and homes with the school and the mechanic shop. They're proposed for a convenience store with fuel sales. It came in a straight rezoning. We asked, what is the purpose, if they could share that. And they did say that it's yes, convenience store, gas station. During the discussion, did provide the site plan, which shows a second building. You'll see that momentarily. Other retail uses may go into that building. We don't know what they might be just yet, but it would be something that would be allowed in the GR zoning. Alcohol sales are prohibited within 300 feet of the school. So you see here's the property line, and their property line is about 293 feet. So anything that had alcohol sales would have to be divided out and pushed further north to be outside that 300-foot distance. We did mention this and pass it over to TxDOT. They mentioned that their access on 363 is more than likely going to be right in, right out. They would make that determination once we get to the subdivision plat and the applicant applies for the permit. Whether there's additional TIA needed, additional turn lanes required, and if it indeed would be a right in, right out, would they, have to put in some type of median? They haven't given a specific recommendation at this point. A second entrance is going to be proposed for Lavandusky Drive. Due to the impact of the added traffic, there's a couple conditions due to all these factors, the TxDOT comments, the alcohol sale, and the conditional Lavandusky. Staff has recommended this to be changed to a plan development. So let's look at the site plan first. So what they're showing is the proposed travel center, roughly an 8,000 square foot building, 6 gasoline pumps out front, 3 diesel, I should say fueling positions, 6 on the front, 3 on the side for diesel. A smaller retail building, about 3,200 square feet here. You've got 2 entrances. So here's the one off of Lavandusky. Here's the proposed right in, right out off of the loop. So that would give them the 2 entrances. Did some quick math. It's 73 parking spaces, which would comply with GR. We'll check against the fuel pump positions. There's an additional requirement there, but that'll be more than adequate. Would note, like I said, this came in last week when I was out and got to do an abbreviated review, but would draw your attention to the 13 spaces over here that are shown to be 13 feet wide and 70 feet long. That's a semi. So when I did the initial traffic analysis, had looked at this as a convenience store gas station, there's another ITE code for truck stop. So I've applied that. I'll show that in the traffic analysis slide. On Lavandusky, they're showing road improvements. So they're proposing to widen the road up to their entrance and then taper back to the existing. So they're not having to improve beyond the bounds of their property, but at least that will address the impacts of the traffic brought on by travel center and any other retail uses. And that would match the existing cross section of Lavandusky on the opposite side. It's 36 feet pavement width, 3 lanes. So 1 right turn in and right turn, left turn out. So we're proposing just to mirror that on the opposite side to allow the traffic to make its moves and not get bottlenecked. And they've also provided that call out showing where the school property is. It's less than that 300 feet if you measure here. As far as access to utilities, that is going to be a challenge on this project. I'll go back to the site plan. So they are showing the water line coming across and then running up the front of the property with that blue line here. The existing water line is a few hundred feet on the other side of 363. Sewer is even farther away. There's a manhole here and a manhole there. But what they're proposing with this site plan is to go with septic. That would be pending approval from the Bell County Health Department once they submit the subdivision plan, but they are showing the area for that. So again, there's the aerial showing the distance to the utilities. To date, there aren't a lot of utility lines, water or sewer, that run to the east side of 363. That has been one of the limiting factors for development on this side of town. As far as future plans, thoroughfare plan shows HK Dodge and Loop. I said 363 is the highway, and the Lavandusky is a community collector. It's not really built as a community collector, but we'll get some improvements with this PD zoning if it is approved. Future land use shows it as employment mixed use. So this would be, a certain portion of the employment on that hard corner. Opposite side is residential and then corridor mixed use over on the school property. Have looked at the traffic. So that top shows the potential estimates based on either the number of fuel positions or the square footage of the retail, pulled out some potential, retail uses that, may go in that corner, may make sense. And you usually have some type of fast food in conjunction with a convenience store or truck stop. If you noted on I'll go back. On that retail building does appear to have a drive-through running around, so that is have the potential for fast food. So the numbers on there, what I would take with a grain of salt is that many of those numbers could be overlapping trips. You may go there for gas. While you're there, let's stop and pick up some burgers. Let's run inside and grab a 6-pack of beer. So I wouldn't add up all those numbers cumulatively. You may combine trips, but I would say that not all of the trips are going to be combined either. So the truth, the actual traffic will probably be somewhere in the middle. And I would settle on about 4,000 trips a day for this, but take that with a grain of salt because it's just not a full-blown traffic impact analysis. 363 is a highway, major arterial, 20 to 40,000 daily trips. Currently sitting at 9,460 is the nearest one to the south. I would say probably lean to the lower end as far as the capacity, because at that point, it is a 2-lane road. It's not a divided highway, which would add the capacity. But nearby, it does divide out. You have those ramps at the interchange with Adams. So you do gain a little bit of traffic management there. And as for the safety analysis for the last 5 years, 11 crashes, mostly at that intersection with 363. Fortunately, none of them were fatal. Only 3 serious injury, 7 not injured, 1 possible. And then the common causes, which tend to be uniform from location to location, distracted driving and speeding. So drop the phone and slow down, please. It's worth noting, did get an email for an intersection near here that's come up on other, public requests or news, is the intersection of Young and 438. Public Works, Transportation, they've just completed the warrant study for that. That is going to start to meet the warrants. So there's likely for a traffic signal to come at East Young north of here sometime in the near future. This one, without the development, has not met the warrants yet. Transportation does do those warrant studies periodically. So with new development coming in here, this will put that on their radar. But as of right now, it'll just be the 2-way stop across Lavandusky with the northbound and southbound traffic is free flow. So we did send out 5 notices to property owners within 200 feet. We've had 0 responses returned in agreement, 1 response in disagreement, and that's Miss Mays. You have her letter. Was concerned about the amount of traffic and the condition of Lavandusky. She also questioned, what can they do with the development without the plumbing out there? So those are some of her concerns. She shared with me a historical note that that diesel mechanic shop used to be some kind of beer joint before my time. She said that once the school came in, that place went away. So I don't know if some of y'all have been here longer than me may remember that, but apparently it was a major problem. So having the school there apparently would have a calming effect. Of course, with the alcohol sales proposed with the convenience store, that wouldn't be a beer joint. It's not on consumption. Or on-premise consumption. It would be a retail sales, pick it up and take it away. And finally, the newspaper printed notice of the public hearing on, that should say March 6th. I apologize. So staff does not recommend approval of the straight rezoning as the applicant requested from ag to general retail. What we're recommending is approval of rezoning from ag to planned development general retail with the site development plan as shown and subject to these following conditions. Compliance with Exhibit A, that any alcohol sales are located no closer than 300 feet from the school property. It leaves it up to them of how they want to accomplish that, but it's simply not negotiable next to the school. Will require the improvements, and we've stated these in the conditions that, the turn lanes and the 36 feet pavement width to match the opposite side of Lavandusky over the loop. Requiring approval of the subdivision plat. And that's where your final designs for your utilities, your water, your sewer, your septic, the text out approval of the driveway entrances will come in. Both roads are going to require 6-foot sidewalks, so that's going to be required for the developer to install. Given that there is a home right next to it, this is standard, it's part of the code, but it's always good to reinforce that non-residential development is required to provide the buffering and screening and landscaping, the buffering and screening to cushion the commercial development from the home. Requiring text dot approval of any entrance on 363. And then minor variations on the site plan may be approved by the Director of Planning, but significant modifications are subject to review by this commission and City Council. So that completes my brief. If you have any questions, I'm available, and so is the applicant, the engineer.
I guess that it really pertains to this, but do we know what their hours of operation are gonna be? Is it 24/7?
It's a good question. I don't have the answer. I'll defer to Ms. Chate. Yeah, if you want to come on up, this would be a good time.
Lena Chate, Belton Engineering. I have to confirm their office, I'm sorry, operation hours, but it will not be 24 hours. It will most likely, and I will confirm that with them, most likely will be until 10 or 11.
Curious as to what it would do with traffic, et cetera, and so forth during the evening.
Sure. And I do have a couple comments to add. Do I add them now or?
Yes, please.
Sure. So I want to mention one thing about septic. So this site here will be on septic. It will not be on it will not be connected to the city sewer, and we did check with Public Works on that, and we were told that this has to be served. It has to be on septic. Therefore, that will limit what will go within the retail. So a fast food restaurant, it will be very complicated for it to be supported on a septic system. That will not happen. We could still have other uses for the retail, but not fast food. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that water line that will be extended, this water line will be extended to not only service this gas station or travel center here, but also for the RV park that was approved a couple months or a few months ago. That is also within close vicinity to this site. As for text dot, whether it's required or not, we will be conducting a TIA once zoning is approved for the plat, and that is for us to add a diesel lane if one is needed, and to make sure that we comply with all the design requirements for text dot.
Thank you.
Curious about the alcohol sales and the 300-foot rule. I mean, how do they get around that? Is it just like literally where the cash register is on the property?
It's property line to property line. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter. That's for a school. For a school, it doesn't matter where either building sits. It's the distance between the property lines. If it's a church, then it becomes a different discussion. It's front door to front door in a direct line up the property lines and across the intersection. So, and I remember someone describing that as the stumbling drunk rule. That you measure from the property line straight out or from the door to the property line. Which means that usually that 300 feet, you're a little bit closer. The property lines may be less, but depending on where the building is, that's where that is. That's a more complicated situation. With the schools or hospitals, it's a GIS, do a buffer if it touches.
So like, will there be any way they can get around it? Because I thought you said it was what, like 290?
You would have to plat it into multiple parcels.
Okay,
If you just have multiple parcels and you have it on a parcel that's far enough away, you'd be
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, that's that.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
I'll note the property lines on Belcad don't add up with this.
In what way? Just curious. Okay, I went and checked with our GIS, they ran it, and they said it is within the three
I
hundred.
think Belcad's incorrect. And you can.
Yeah.
Property lines and the fence lines don't add up. I think that's more accurate.
And just to be more conservative and err on the side of caution, we would go with this as well. I know from a past life of being one of the GIS people, is that the surveys, sometimes especially the older stuff that's shown in Belcad, there's a shift and they don't line up with the aerial photo very well. So yeah, I do take Belcad sometimes with a grain of salt.
There could be a discrepancy that it's shown as right of way on our city maps, but Belcad is showing it.
That too.
Yeah, the loop right of way. And that could affect it.
Will there be any, because when you go through that area, people are speeding through there. Is there going to be any speed zones in that area, especially for the school? And has the school been notified?
Yeah, if there's a speed zone out there, I drove out there. I don't recall seeing the speed signs for the school. But when I went out there to post the sign and take photos, I don't recall seeing the school zone posts, school zone signs posted. But that would be there whether or not this gets approved or not. We can check on that.
And also regarding the
Yeah.
alcohol, has the school responded on that?
No, ma'am.
Wouldn't that be something we might want to consider since there's going to be so many children and parents going through that area? Might be something to get some
Yeah, I'll double
feedback.
check. We did send the notice.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Minor state law requires us to notify the school district about the rezoning.
Sure, yep. Yeah, that's it. It's outside the 200-foot, but we do notify the school district for any reason.
Understand that, but it's still in that area and it just seemed like it'd be the neighborly thing to do.
I will follow up. Yes, ma'am.
And one other side thing, I noticed that the auto shop across the street, they have cars everywhere. Is there not maybe a screening ordinance or something that kind of hides some of all those old junkyard cars looking?
That was my question too when I saw it. I haven't taken time to look that up. I don't know if they were grandfathered in and annexed at some point, so they were
Well-
brought in and
But things have changed and it might be something to bring back up.
yeah, I can check with our code compliance. I don't know, Brian or Kyle, what we can
Kyle,
enforce at this point.
And there's 2013.
Pardon?
Yeah, if they're grandfathered in, they wouldn't be required necessarily to do anything just yet. But if they ever had to get a permit for something, they would be required to upgrade to match the screening and any screening requirements between commercial and residential, because I know residential is nearby there now. So if their neighboring property isn't residential, there isn't any screening requirement, but if it's residential, then there would be.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because there is a lot of new residential in that area growing, so I don't know how close it has to be, but it's a lot of neighborhoods are being developed through there.
Yeah. And the screening is on the commercial property
Mhm.
owner,
Right.
business property owner, rather than on the residential property owners to make sure there is that screening between them.
Okay.
Commissioners, are there further comments or questions? Yes.
I just want to add to the 300 feet rule, the owner is working with an attorney. This is, the owner has several locations, so he knows the the process. And his attorney is working on that liquor license and with the school on that to make sure that it meets the requirements.
Thank you. The case does require a public hearing. We will open the public hearing. If you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you're viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand. Provide your full name and city of residence for the record. Limit comments to 3 minutes. We will have a timer on the screen for your reference.
Right there. Alan Lytle, Temple, Texas. Dumb question first. It has an entrance from the loop to this property. Doesn't the property that entrance runs on have to also be zoned general retail?
You're talking this entrance
From the
down
loop
here.
to the, yeah.
That's right of way. So that's all right of way that's owned by TxDOT. So
That big,
that
huge.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. I thought it was, yeah, that long, big,
Yep.
okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a lot of right of way. Maybe worth noting, don't have a timeline, but they are looking at some point to widen 363.
Right.
That's why they're hanging on to that right of way.
Okay. And then back to the site picture.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that there's no alcoholic consumption on premises. But I'm concerned that those 13, 17 semi-truck spots would be a good place for them to park for the night, which is, they do that, I'm pretty sure, and they bought some beer, I'm pretty sure they're gonna consume it inside their truck. Not a good thing.
I agree.
Unless, of course, they're not allowed to park overnight. Good question.
Good question.
Many do have.
Don't have, if the business is closed, yeah, do we have a condition? Yeah.
Travel trucks. It's for them to park and use the store and not.
It's not gonna have showers or,
No, it doesn't, no,
like-
not, the septic cannot be in. the-
yeah.
Anyway.
But that can be a condition that you all add to just
Yeah.
clearly prohibit
Overnight.
overnight
Yeah.
parking of trucks.
That would be done with our motion at this time.
Yes, ma'am.
There are no other further comments. We'll close the public hearing. And I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'm not sure the wording on this one, but I'll try to.
Kyle.
Jump in.
Kyle's going to help us here.
Okay. All right, so motion to approve, because I want to say not as presented, but the proposed plans make it, there was a slide that said it.
Yeah,
Motion
let me-
to approve per staff recommendation.
Motion to approve per staff recommendation. Do we want to add a line about the overnight parking? Okay, motion to approve per staff recommendation with the addendum, to, restrict overnight parking.
Okay.
Second.
Everybody wants.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Prager and a second by Commissioner Smith to recommend approval of item 7 FY 25 10 ZC to City Council per staff recommendation. Tiffany, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
No,
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Jurassic,
Aye.
Commissioner Prager,
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith,
Aye.
Chair Krause.
Aye.
The vote is 5 ayes and 1 nay. The motion carries.
Is there any further business? If not, the meeting is closed at 6:24 PM.